I choose to call this book, What is Illusion? The 360 Theory. So I'm going to start with the question, what is illusion? According to the dictionary, illusion is something that appears real but doesn't exist, such as fantasy, delusion, false impression, etc. With that description, it's hard to believe that this physical reality we're in is considered by spiritualists and metaphysicians as an illusion. I mean, we know things appear solid and real to us. It's apparent that this physical world we live in is considered by the majority of the inhabitants as the real world. What if I told you that this world is an illusion and the spirit world is the real world? You would probably think I am totally off base and might scoff at that suggestion. First, we should talk further about the nature of illusion. I don't feel in this case it means the illusion of a magician such as in David Copperfield's amazing shows, displaying daring feats and tricks by using revolving doors and hidden mirrors. The illusion I'm referring to is the illusion that could be compared to the story of the prince who is kidnapped at an early age from his kingdom by a band of renegades. After spending many years in captivity, the prince eventually forgets where he has come from and starts living and viewing himself as a renegade. He grows up not knowing his true identity until one day he's rescued by his father's army. Upon returning to the kingdom, it is hard for the young man to understand that he is a prince and had remained a prince the entire time he had been away from the kingdom. Even while in captivity, he might have had some vague memories of once living as a prince. But after several years, he lost all hope of ever being rescued. So he decided to adjust to the lifestyle of the renegades. The prince decided he had no choice but to become a part of the bandit world. He didn't realize his father had been working on a master plan of rescue for all of those years, until that day he was rescued by his father's army. I felt it necessary to relate this little story in an attempt to show how we as humans have forgotten where we have come from. In essence, we are that young prince. As humans, we don't realize that our Heavenly Father has laid out a plan of rescue for all of us to return home. Many of us have given up hope on ever being rescued from this world of crime, hopelessness, depression, and despair. We are holding on to this reality, feeling as though we are stranded here. Well, guess what? We are not trapped in this world. We have completely ignored the spirit realm and flip-flopped it. We've placed too much emphasis on the physical, simply ignoring our true origin, making it appear unknown and scary. As the young prince who originated in his father's kingdom, the same applies to us as humans. We originated in our father's kingdom as well. The spirit world is awaiting our return. It seems to me, if that's where we indeed come from, it shouldn't be an unfamiliar, weird, scary place to visit. As an example, we go there when we dream, we go there when we meditate, or even daydream, and ultimately, when we die, we return there as well. What has happened is this: we have become more comfortable in the physical world while discarding the spirit world. We are caught up in the material aspect, believing that this world matters more than the spirit world. You might be curious as to how this could happen. Well, based on theories from ancient theologians, in the beginning, young souls began creating and experimenting in a new thing called physicality. They realized this physical world was a fantasy world. Keep in mind, we were only fragments having recently separated from the whole. We were young souls then, who could be compared to the young prince who had been abducted from his kingdom and introduced to a new and different reality. The difference is that the young souls had free will, but the prince did not. This was great for the young spirits because they could exit the real world and enter a make-believe world while still being able to come and go randomly as they pleased. In essence, the young souls could create whatever they wanted to experience, then easily returning to the spirit world after their brief physical experiments. However, some of them began to really enjoy their physical situations and creations. Eventually, some chose to stay for prolonged periods of time. Theologians and many metaphysicians believe this is where the problem began. Some of the souls became completely enthralled by the new experience of physicality. They began creating experiences with other spirits, fragments, who wanted to create similar experiences. After a prolonged amount of time, various spirits began creating mass illusion in order to have simultaneous gratification. This was the beginning of creating bonds with one another. Eventually, these bonds became relationships, which led to addictive situations for themselves that became more prolonged and harder to break away from. In other words, they stayed in the physical realm far longer than they should have, developing somewhat of an amnesia-like condition. They created more and more pleasure-based situations, justifying their reasons for staying longer in the physical dream. Some of them became totally mesmerized by their physical creations. Many of the more focused spirits still recognized it as just an illusion. As a result, they knew how to come and go without a problem. Now, as mentioned earlier, many of the unfocused spirits began feeling trapped in the illusion to the point of believing the physical reality was the real world. Because of their lack of focus, these souls became known as the lost souls to the enlightened souls. The souls who were more aware tried to help the others to leave the illusion behind. However, the lost souls had become so enthralled in the new reality they had created that the longer they stayed, the more they wanted to create more of the same situations. Eventually, some of the souls learned to create physical bodies to accommodate and house their spirit essence. In the beginning, there was no prototype for the human body, so these beings began randomly creating bodies, maybe appearing awkward and hideous at first. According to some experts, the young souls created bodies with 2 heads, while others created huge, unproportioned limbs dangling from various parts of their bodies. Remember, they had no previous prototype of the human body we have evolved into today. They knew these bodies were not perfect, but they served and fulfilled a purpose for the time being. This new reality was very alluring because of the dense yet intense feelings of their newfound nerve endings. It was intriguing to them, They did not want to abandon all of these new sensations. Some did not leave because they had become comfortable in the illusion. The focused spirits became very concerned about this situation, so they decided to find ways to guide the others back to reality. They began fabricating tales in an attempt to scare the others to come back to reality. This was an attempt to convince them if they didn't come back, their souls will be destroyed forever, or they will rot in this destructive new reality they are creating. The enlightened souls fabricated places like heaven, hell, and purgatory. Some of the phrases they used were terms like, "You will burn in hell," or "You will be rewarded in a place called heaven," making them believe they will be punished or rewarded for their behavior. It is believed this was the origin of religion. Apparently, today, the battle is still going strong and is being fought on both the spiritual and physical levels to restore our natural state of being. Clearly, this is what the whole spiritual war is still about. To reiterate the story I just related to you, I like to say theologians suggested we became physical beings existing in a non-physical world filled with bliss and wonders untold. But then, out of curiosity, we began creating another reality consisting of heavier matter. This heavier matter is referred to as physical matter. As a result, from liking the sensations, we became addicted and locked into the physical world, losing sight of the real world, which is the spirit world. We have done a complete 360, spiritually speaking. I believe that's the reason most humans believe attaining material things is more important than becoming spiritually in tune with the universe. Some people are not sure and have simply lost sight that we as humans are spirit beings first. There are some people who are not aware that there is a higher power that created everything that exists. There are those who are unaware that we are immortal, powerful spiritual beings who are simply denying who we truly are. If you say to most people, this world is a mere illusion, they will more than likely shrug it off or not get the spiritual meaning of illusion, comparing it to the illusion of magic tricks. For as long as I've been studying metaphysics, I've always come across the word illusion, not truly understanding its true meaning in relationship to spirituality. Eventually, I found myself understanding more clearly what illusion means in the spiritual context. According to metaphysicians, spiritualists, and most theologians, the word illusion has a lot to do with this physical reality not being the real world. According to them, this world was created long ago by young souls as somewhat of a playground. By writing this booklet, what I've attempted to do is to clarify the whole concept about illusion and how we as spiritual beings fit into this scenario. This is how and why various religions have come into existence. Scare tactics and other ploys had to be created with some creativity to actually make the lost souls see through the illusion they had created. In other words, they had to first be made aware of the fact that they were creating a false reality in place of the real world, which is the spirit world. That's where the term spiritual enlightenment derived from. And my title, What is Illusion? The 360 Theory. Be sure to check out my book, The Spiritual Flip-Flop Theory, which deals with the same subject matter only from a different perspective. It deals more with our current day problems and how we are still mesmerized and feeling stuck in this physical illusion created long ago. Thanks for listening. Peace.